We've been spending the last couple of years building a system that can give our family financial independence. But there was one problem that threatened every single strategy and investment plan that we put in place. No, it wasn't low income, and no, it wasn't scams. It was something that a lot of people, especially Filipinos, don't really talk about. And if we don't catch it early, it could dismantle everything that you've built from the very beginning. Today, I'm going to explain what that problem is, what it does to your numbers, and how to create a plan to beat it so that you can have financial independence. Let's dive into the slides. My wife and I have been working towards post retirement. And our goal, Cess and I, is to hit our number by the time that we're 36 years old. That's next year. And this is us in Singapore, just the two of us. There were no kids. This was our 10th year anniversary. And we flew to Singapore to celebrate and, travel and just spend some time together. And somewhere in Haji Lane, where we took this picture, we were eating Turkish roast lamb. Well, at least I was. I realized, however, and this time, that this is exactly what retirement would look and feel like. It was just us with time. But sitting there, I kept asking myself one question: how are we actually going to afford to enjoy this kind of life for the rest of our lives? And that's when we decided that we need to start preparing for retirement. And so we started to build a plan to retire, and we invested in properties. And now that we've turned two of them into rentals, and we're making and generating revenue out of it. And then we also started to invest in Singapore, the very place where I had this realization. And we worked with our wealth manager, Rico Desengano, and he did an amazing job of helping us build this strategy to help us grow our wealth. But over the years of building that, there was this one problem that I realized could slowly ruin our finances. And it's a problem that we all have to face as well. If you're a Filipino who wants to reach financial independence, this is an issue and we need to talk about it. But the good news is that you can fix that issue. So, what is the problem? A few days ago, I posted this video that went crazy. And in that video, I shared to you this investment plan that we have in place. One of the many, by the way. It's not the only investment plan that we have. A lot of people were asking, is that the only way that you're going to retire? And for good reason. We'll get to that in a little bit. But this plan was going to generate about 67,000 pesos per month in passive income for my wife and I. And all of that looked good on paper until you realize that this number, while it feels like enough, it's a number that what economists would call a nominal income. It's a raw figure that your account will show, but it's not what your money can actually buy at a grocery store in the year 2055. Because with time and as prices increase, that 67,000 a month will only feel like 25,000 pesos per month in today's pesos. And that's what we call inflation. I want to establish something that changed the way I think about retirement entirely. Because for a long time, I thought that retirement is hitting one big number. And that's exactly the wrong mental model. Oh, I'll just put everything in S&P 500. Oh, I'll just buy rental properties. Or I'll just get a VUL or an endowment plan. We felt this recently when oil prices went up. But that wasn't because of inflation, it was because of a war. But this perfectly illustrates for us how it feels like for prices to increase. Maybe not drastically, but over a long period of time. And if we don't adjust now, we will have to face some very painful downgrades to our quality of life. So it's time for you to say goodbye to riding an air conditioned car because you'll probably have to ride this. No, but kidding aside, this is what inflation looks like. If we don't prepare for inflation, we're going to have to make some serious choices that could affect our quality of life and sometimes even our basic needs. Think of it this way as well: how grocery prices have changed over the years. 1,500 pesos used to fill a grocery cart. Now, it can hardly fill up a grocery basket. That's what happens when we face inflation. And whether we like it or not, we're all going to feel the effects of inflation over the long term. In the Philippines, historical average for inflation has hovered at around 3 to 5% per year, depending on the period. And what that practically means is that money you hold in cash quietly loses value every single year. Over 30 years, 1 peso today will become about 41 cents if we're conservative. If you look at moderate estimates, then that will feel like 30 cents, 31 cents to be exact. And if we're pessimistic and if inflation goes up to 5%, it will feel like 23 cents, a quarter of what it's worth today. And so looking at the 67 per month retirement income, conservatively, that will feel like 27,600 pesos per month. So in 30 years, whatever you want to buy with 67,000 per month, you will probably only be able to buy what you can buy right now with 27,000 pesos. In a moderate setting, that's around 20,000 pesos. And in a pessimistic setting, that could go down to 15,500 pesos. And that's what happens when inflation happens. And so you look at that and you think, well, what am I going to do? And you fall into this doom setting where you say, well, it doesn't look like that I'm going to have a very bright future. And you start to admit defeat. Well, my encourage for everyone here who's watching this video, I hope that we take a different stance. And this is the stance that my wife and I have taken, and a lot of people in the circles that we're in who are also starting to build financial independence. This is the stance that they have, and because it's what will make us win. And that stance is defense. The best way to defend is to prepare and to crunch the numbers and to prepare. That's the reason why I'm so passionate about teaching this topic. It's not because I love numbers. I hate math, by the way. It's something that I don't really enjoy doing. But if I think about what the math can do for me and my family, I am motivated to get into the numbers and crunch the numbers as much as I can. So, what's the solution then? The solution is something that I call an income stack. The idea is very simple. No single stream of income, retirement income, will protect you from everything. So, in the same way that today we need multiple sources of income, in our retirement years as well, we will need multiple sources of income. Because if you stack multiple streams, it can each cover each other's weakness. Equities will give you growth, but it can fluctuate. Rental income will grow with inflation, but it requires management. Fixed instruments like insurance endowments might give you the certainty, but it will get broken down by inflation over time. So each stream, while it has a weakness, the only way to build a retirement that survives any economic condition, including high inflation, is to stack multiple streams where each one can cover the weakness of the other. So let me break down to you our income stack to kind of like show you how this might look like, and hopefully you can come up with your own numbers as well. So our income stack, we have five streams of retirement income that we are building currently right now. Most of this, 80% of it is already built out. And so it's just a matter of like finishing and strong. And again, like I said earlier, our goal is to finish strong by the age of 36 so that we can, focus on other things as well. So if we look at the nominal amount, so this is when I say nominal, this is the amount that this will be at in terms of monthly income, each of these streams, then this is what they would look like. Our S&P 500 investments, again, will bring us 67,000 pesos per month, which I mentioned in the last video and I mentioned earlier in this video. We also have rental properties, which are earning around 45,000 pesos per month right now and growing at a rental yield of 3 to 5% conservatively. It's actually gone up way, way higher than that. But we want to be quite careful and quite conservative and just think in mind that, it might not grow at the same rate that it's growing today. We also have Philippine index funds, which is doing terribly right now. But over time, it has yielded about 7% in the last 20 years. And growth stocks into investments like we've actually invested in some AI stocks. I have a little bit of crypto left, and some other investments in gold and all of these things. We have they average it at around 12% growth every year, and we also have endowments into insurance plans that will provide us this kind of income. So all in all, our nominal per month income by the time we're retirement age will be about 247,000 pesos per month, which sounds like a lot of money. Quarter of a million pesos per month. Wow, sana all, right? But again, remember, inflation comes into the picture. So with inflation, you now see that the real value of your income per month will go down. The 67,000 will feel like 20,700 pesos, moderate, conservative estimate. Rental property might kind of like hover at around 45,000 pesos per month, which is what we're earning right now. So the thinking there is if it just beats inflation, then that's the real value. We also have Philippine index funds, 5,500, growth stocks 2,300, 2,400 for endowments. All in all, that income will feel like 75,000 pesos per month in today's income. So again, this is what inflation can do. So if you're thinking that I'm going to earn 100,000 pesos per month by the time I retire, keep in mind that 100,000 pesos will probably feel like 25 to 30,000 pesos. And so you need to kind of like look at that and ask yourself the question, is that going to be enough for me to retire on by the time that I reach retirement age? So if you're 35 years old right now, you want to retire at 65, then you have 30 years. You have to look at what inflation will do to your money in the next 30 years so that you can be ready. So going back to the example that I shared about geo arbitrage in the last video, geo arbitrage is this concept that we learned where you're trying to use the power of cost of living in a cheaper place, a place with a lower cost of living, to kind of help you build your quality of life. And for us, that was choosing to retire in the province. This is a picture of our condominium unit in Iloilo City where we plan to retire. And looking at the numbers right now, if you look at the data of cost of living in Iloilo City today, without rent, for a comfortable cost of living, you would need about $312, which is around 15 to 17,000 pesos per person. And so if my wife and I retired today, we would need about 37 to 40,000 pesos to retire with not really comfort per se, but to kind of like meet our basic needs without rent because we already own this condo. And so if we play the math, essentially go back to the income stack that we had, our goal of making 75,000 pesos per month is actually a whole lot higher than what we would need to retire comfortably or to retire with our basic needs met. And so again, this is the plan that's in place right now. If we can invest more, then this could go up to 100,000, 120,000 pesos per month in real value and could give us a better life in our retirement. So that's how you build your inflation proof income stack. If I were to put this into three simple buckets into a framework that you could take home, I would just start. You know, start with your first investment. Sometimes the hardest place to begin is the beginning. And so your first investment, it should be something that grows faster than inflation over the long horizon. In our case, we chose S&P 500 and Philippine stocks through our Coast Financial Independence Plan. Two separate plans, by the way. So we have S&P 500. Most of our capital is put in there, but we still have some in the Philippine stock market. We've built about 1 million pesos over the last couple of years to build that up. And so that's the first one. Just start. And again, you don't have to start with 1 million pesos. It's going to take time. I started with 5,000 pesos per month, and then we built up over time. Next is you want to stack. You stack at least one asset whose income grows with inflation. In our case, it was the rental property. We started with one rental property, and that's where it actually started because the income from that rental property, what we did is we invested a lot of that heavily into the stock market. And it allowed us to build capital that we could deploy into our financial independence plan. And the last step is to simplify your life, which I reference back to the power of geo arbitrage. So if you're saying, well, I live in New York City or I live in Metro Manila, of course, you're going to need a whole lot more money to retire comfortably. But if you simplify your life and you use geo arbitrage and you live in a province, buy a property there, because cost of living is much lower than the big city, you could have a better quality of life, even if you had to sacrifice just a little bit of comforts like going to your favorite luxury brand, which, by the way, you can always just fly to the big city from time to time. So the income stack isn't something that you build all at once. We didn't start with 5 streams. We started with one. And then we added another when we had the capacity, and then another. And so the stack grows as you grow as well. And the goal isn't to have 5 streams on day one, it's to know which one that you want to add next. And I want to leave you with this one thought: an honest plan you execute is worth more than a perfect plan that you never start. I've gotten a lot of comments about my plan, And I'm happy about it. Why? Because I'm glad that people are kind of like stress testing my assumptions because I want to come up with a good plan. Is my plan perfect? Obviously not, because I'm not a financial planner and I don't see the future. Even if I were the best wealth manager in the entire world, and if I had the best, fund managers in around me, no one can tell the future. But once again, you don't need the perfect plan, and you can't have a perfect plan. But what you need is an honest plan, because when you run the strategy through every filter that you throw at it and it doesn't collapse, it just becomes more honest. And an honest plan that you execute, again, is worth infinitely more than a perfect plan that you never start. Going back to this picture, this was the big realization for me. And I hope that in some way or another, this video could be a start or could be the big realization for you as well. Cess and I, during this time, no client work, no deadlines. It was just time together. And it was one of the best and the sweetest memories that we've had. We still go back fondly to it and talk about it. That picture used to be a fantasy for us, but now it's an actual number that we can shoot for. So we're stress testing our numbers and talking about retirement and financial independence so that we allow this to happen in the future. I hope that we start talking about these topics more, because when we talk openly about investments, money, retirement, which I know are taboo in the Philippines, but if we talk about this, we will begin probing into very important questions that can help us build a better life for ourselves and for our loved ones. So hopefully this video added value to you. If you have questions and if you want to probe at it, you are completely welcome to leave them in the comments. I am not easily offended. And I will answer, by the way, as best as I can. And I'm also going to admit if I don't have the answers to those questions. But this is a journey, and I hope that you start your journey as well. And if you want to journey along with me, hit the subscribe button and let's talk about money more and more so that we can reach financial independence together. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.